list is how to go in Hashem's ways. So we have, again, having mercy, giving freely, and being holy, which again, we're saying a human being can't be holy in the way Hashem is. Being limitless. Ramban, as we said already, disagrees with Rashi. He has a whole other idea. He says, wait a minute, Rashi, this can't relate to the past Parsha. Why? Because those mitzvot were just stated. You can't have a mitzvah telling you to keep a mitzvah. That doesn't make sense. This has to have its own meaning, okay? So what does it mean? How do you free yourself from limitations? So this is also a very famous sentence that's often quoted. Don't be a fool with the Torah's permission. Don't be a fool with the Torah's permission. So he gives 3 examples, and then we'll add some others. Don't be a glutton on kosher food. Does gluttony make you a more limited and animalistic person?
I don't know what that means.
Gluttony? Gluttony is when you're permanently on the seafood diet. You know the seafood diet? You see food. Okay, yeah? Okay, got it? So, like, it doesn't matter if you're hungry or not. It's like the same reason why Sir Edward Hillary climbed Mount Everest. Do you know what he said when people asked, why did you climb Mount Everest? Because it was there. Okay, there are people who eat because it's there. Okay, clear? So that's not good. Why is gluttony not good for you in terms of making you an unholy person, even if the food's kosher? You associate pleasure with immediate gratification of your animal instinct. So if you do this on a continual basis, you're destroying your identity. Do you know that there are gourmet tours of Europe? Did you ever see them advertised? So you buy, I assume it's very expensive, I don't know. But it's like, if it's Monday, you're eating crepes in Paris. But if it's Tuesday, you're eating spaghetti in Rome. If it's Wednesday, you're having Wurst in Berlin. If it's, got the picture? Like no sightseeing, no culture, only food. Could you imagine this? Like it's just like, so he's saying that's not a good way to do it. Okay, clear? Okay, he says don't get drunk on kosher wine. Drunkenness, when a person is drunk, they basically sent their mind and to some degree their soul out to lunch. Okay, so the third one is don't drown in materialism. And he purposely used the verb to drown. Water is necessary for life, is that true or not? Our bodies are like, I think it's 84% water, something like this. Okay, we need water continually. 2/3 of the Earth's surface is water. Drowning is when you take so much water that you can't breathe anymore, right? So materialism is the same way. The material world is positive. You're supposed to enjoy it. God created it to be enjoyed. But you could drown in it. It could choke you. Give me an example of how the material world could choke you.
Say, like, if you're famous and you're, like, always, like, doing, like, I don't know, tours, and you're doing, like, you have, like, fancy cars, and you have, like...
That doesn't sound so bad to me. Does that sound so okay?
At the end of the day, your house is so big, you can barely find your dog, you can barely find your friends. Your life gets so lonely, you're just surrounded by material, and you're just like, now what?
I'm going to give you 2 negative examples. Do any of you remember who Imelda Marcos was? She was the dictator of the Philippines. She was a strong materialist. When she died, and people were like looking at her personal quarters, she had 5,000 pairs of shoes. Okay, so that's just among other, So I worked it out with my handy telephone. That means if she was changing shoes every half hour for 12 hours a day, it would take her 5 years before she wore every pair of shoes. Okay, got this? Why do you think she kept on buying shoes?
She felt like she never had enough.
Because shoes gave her pleasure and everyone wants more pleasure. Okay, I'll give you another example. This is like from somebody who I actually like very much. I have a cousin who's like one of my favorite cousins, but he's a very successful lawyer. So his wife is also a lawyer. They got older. He doesn't like New York winters anymore, So he wanted to retire to Florida, but she didn't want to. She's still more active than he. So so she said, why do you, they have like almost infinite money. Like money is not an issue to them. So she said, I don't want to leave my practice, but you do. Why don't you buy a house in Florida and you could be there and I'll come for weekends, okay? So this is what they did. So how does somebody with a lot of money, a man, go about buying a house? What's the best way to do it? You hire an agent, right? Now the agent is paid how? In proportion to, by commissions. So that means the more expensive the house is, the more money the agent gets. How big a house does a man who will be there alone all week need when his wife is just coming for weekends? They have children, but their children are all married. Okay?
2 bedrooms.
2 bedrooms is fine, okay? He ended up with this like 10-bedroom house. So I was in Florida where he lived, and he invited me to come over. So I was thinking, what did he do this for? But it's not polite, you don't say this. So he said to me, he said, I bet you're wondering why I bought this monster. And I said, yeah, why did you do this? So he said, it was the agent. So the agent said, Mr. Krasner, that's his name, okay, what do you really want? What are you looking for? And I said, to me, it's really not that important. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be fancy. It just has to be on the water. Okay, I want that. Okay, so again, she's thinking commission. So she took him to different houses, and then he took him to this one. He said, you know who your neighbor will be? And he said, no. And she said, the agent was a woman, Admiral Rickover, who at that time was the head of the American Navy. And he said, it pressed a button. Wow, I'm going to live next to, I finally made it. And so I bought it. So do you want to see what I've done with it? And because he's very normal, he really fell in with this one. So he showed me the main floor. The main floor has a large living room for entertaining, which he never does. Okay, a state-of-the-art kitchen, for frying eggs. Okay, and he does have a maid who makes good food. A library, which he does use a lot. A room for just listening to music. Okay, so you can't listen to music unless you have a special room. And an office. Okay, then you go 1 flight up.
You can just put all these rooms together into one room.
Easily, okay. And upstairs you have, there are 2 floors upstairs, bedrooms, and then another floor of bedrooms. So he said, I didn't know what to do with all these bedrooms. So I had to decorate it. It looks like a hotel. All the bedrooms look basically alike. Beds, okay, a nice closet that matches the woodwork, curtains, fine art, and a carpet. But they're all the same. They all like little variations in color, but it just. So because tact isn't my strong point, I said you could always sell it to Conrad Hilton. He didn't think it was funny, but whatever. But that's, people do this. So that's what drowning in materialism means, where you forget what you even need and want. Now in his case, it wasn't so terrible, and I want to tell you why. He didn't give anything up by spending this money. Do you understand what I mean? He didn't work harder, he didn't work longer. The money was there. It would be nice if I could say otherwise he would have given it to charity, but he wouldn't have. He does give charity, but he wouldn't have given that much. So, but there are people who, because they have to keep up with other people's standards or their own invisible standards, they sacrifice every minute of their time and all of their emotional energy in getting more and more money. And that's a bad deal. So Rambam has a formula. How do you know how far you should go? So here's the formula. So everybody gets different answers to the same questions, which I find interesting. But the questions stay the same. Before you purchase something, ask yourself one question. Why do I need this? Be a Melda Marcus. You're buying shoe number 4,862. Okay. Why do I need this? Okay, so the answers don't have to be rigid. You don't say, I don't really need it, I have shoes. You could say, I need blue shoes because I have a blue outfit. But give an answer, it should serve some purpose. The next is, what am I paying not just in money, but in time, energy, and emotion to get this, and is it worth it? So I'll give you an example. Suppose I would decide to buy a car. So why do I need a car? You could ask. I live across the street from where I work. I would probably say, well, on vacations, it's nice to be able to go wherever you want, okay? What would I have to pay for a car? So besides the dollar, I would have to get another job to get a car. So, because cars are expensive here, and the gas, and the insurance, and driving lessons for someone like me who's a space cadet. I would need 1 million driving lessons before I'd get a license. Okay, you sure you want to drive? Okay, so with this all in mind, that would mean sacrificing my time for reading, my time for my children and grandchildren, my time for taking walks in the forest. It's not worth the price. It's like cheaper for me when there's a vacation, so hire a van and go where you want, like it's better. You understand this? For somebody else, where it wouldn't mean changing their life, of course they should buy a car. You understand this? So you have to ask yourself the same questions. Why do I need this, and what am I paying? So the Rambam said about himself, and he lived most of his life, he was a doctor as well as a philosopher and a great Torah scholar. He had money. But he said as he began to ask this question more consistently, he discovered he needed less and less and less. He had more and more time to do things that were more important to him. Okay, clear? Okay, got it? So that's how to be holy according to Rambam. Okay, so if you're talking about walking in Hashem's ways, this is how to do it. But there's a whole other theory of this.